Hi, this is author Tarrin Lupo, and welcome to Stash Your Swag, 100 secret hiding places for under $50. I'm going to go through this series where I'm going to give you 5 different hiding places each clip. You'll be able to take a look and you'll be able to watch the whole book online for free because I'm a nice guy.
I dedicate this book to both my grandfathers. Each one in their own way taught me the need to protect your valuables with stealth, not force. People have been hiding items since the beginning of mankind. Cavemen hid their food, Knight Templars hid their gold, heck, even dogs and squirrels bury everything. Hiding places can be very simple, run-of-the-mill, to incredibly complex. One of my grandfathers, who I called Pop, there's a picture of him holding me right there. He taught me a very important lesson when I was a child that I'll never forget. I once watched him disappear into his tool shed, and he came out with a handful of cash for shopping. I asked him, "Why do you hide your money, Pop? Why don't you just use a bank?" He replied, "I do use a bank for convenience, but I don't trust them, and I always keep my real money in the house." I was 10 years old, and I didn't know anything about banks. I had no idea what he was talking about. It was only years later that I fully understood what he meant. One day, I questioned him again when I was older. "Pop, why don't you trust banks?" He explained to me that when he was young, and that before 1933, money was backed by gold and silver. During that time, you could take your banknote out of your wallet and cash it at your bank for gold and silver. In 1934, President Roosevelt made it illegal to own gold or silver. The president did some fancy political maneuvering and passed the Gold Reserve Act. This in turn inflated the gold from $20 to $35 an ounce. This increase would have made many Americans rich if they were allowed to keep their gold. But after confiscating it, the government owned most all of it. Overnight, it became illegal to cash in your paper notes for precious metals. From that point on, the Federal Reserve notes were backed by absolutely nothing, but a promise to those that if they didn't recognize the new dollars as real money, that they could go to jail. I asked him, how did the government force all those people to turn in their gold and silver for notes? He went on and explained how they used banks as their muscle. The banks assigned agents who would seize any metals they found and cash them out with Federal Reserve notes at the lower $20 an ounce price. My pop's father had a great collection of coins inside his safety deposit box. When he went to the bank to get them out, the bank forced him to open it under a government agent's supervision. When my great-grandfather complied, the agent seized the coin collection and gave him only face value for his precious coins. In other words, the agent treated the valuable coins as if they were just normal coins and not collectibles, and that they were not worth 10 times the value. Understandably, they never trusted banks again. Banks are quasi-government entities that will never really protect your money. My grandfather only kept what he needed to pay bills in the bank. He would never trust them again with his real valuables. My Italian grandfather, the one in the far right on this picture below, lost all his fortune in the Depression. By the way, I look like I was a pretty angry baby in this picture. Anyway, when the stock market crashed, banks just closed their doors and all my family's money was lost. As Italians, my grandparents knew not to trust government or banks. Italy's corrupt governments was infamous. In that day, you kept your money close to you or close to your property. When my grandparents died, there were thousands of dollars hidden all over the house. It took a year to uncover all those little stashes. I still don't think we found all of it. Stacks of cash were hidden everywhere, in books, old newspapers, mattresses, furniture, even in secret rooms. So, could this happen today? Would a bank take your money You bet they would. When the market crashed in 2008 and was dropping 500 points a day, there was a whole lot of chatter in Congress about closing banks and freezing accounts. The idea was to stop the market freefall. This never happened, but just knowing that it was seriously considered and on the table was enough for me to pull out my assets out of all their institutions. The money of businesses and individuals becomes frozen or taken by the government regularly. The government takes whatever they want, whenever they want, without having to explain why. They can legally hold your money during an investigation, and unless you have years of free time and thousands of dollars to spare, you have no hope of recovery. So if banks can't be trusted, what do? The answer is simple. You hide your valuables really, really, really well. It's crazy in a time like now we have to go back to old school hiding our swag, but the evidence is clear. The boogeyman is real and he can take all your stuff now without even a trial. There's a whole lot of people out there who covet your possessions. They come in all shapes and sizes. Government bureaucrats, lawsuits, opportunistic family members, pissed off ex-spouses, and of course robbers. My philosophy is to minimize risk by spreading out your money. Think of it as a hiding place mutual fund. You want to put your money in many, many hiding places, so even if your house gets burglarized, the chances of them finding all the booty will be very remote. You'll also want to consider making a dummy bag. Fill a Ziploc bag with some costume jewelry and leave it throughout your pad, somewhere obvious. Some people take it a step further and use a dummy safe with a dummy bag. Leave the safe unlocked, like you left it open accidentally, and when a bad guy comes in, he'll think he got all the good stuff and leave quickly, and all he'll have is a bag full of junk jewelry. I've kept all my hiding places in this book doable and under $50, so you can make many cheap secret stashes. A lot of them are free. I encourage you to think of your own unique ideas or elaborate on mine. Welcome to Chapter 1, 10 Secret Hiding Places in the Yard. The first hiding place, number 1. Using hollow trees and fake branches. This is one of the oldest and most notorious hiding places, made famous in the Connecticut Charter Oak incident. The Charter Oak was a huge tree originally planted in Hartsford by a tribe of Indians as a symbol of peace. The settlers in 1630 refused to cut it down. During 1662, King James II loathed the colonies that they were making their own charters and ignoring his. In response, he sent an agent named Andros in 1687 to collect all the American charters from the colonies and replace them with the King's version. The legend goes that Andros demanded the Hartford Charter from the colony, and as the argument ensued, the candle that was lighting the room mysteriously went out. While it was dark, the charter was passed out the window to a man named Wadsworth. Wadsworth evaded the king's agent, ending the pursuit without the charter in hand. During the chase, Wadsworth had stashed it inside the old hollowed oak. Andros searched everywhere, but with no avail. Eventually, he left frustrated and empty-handed. Connecticut was so proud of their original act of government disobedience and defiance that they honored it by placing the famous oak on their state quarter, which can be seen today on their quarter. For this hiding place to work, you'll obviously need trees. Find a hollow one with a good hole and insert your stash. You can also hollow out a thick, dead branch. That's a lot less obvious. If you only have one tree in your yard, well, that'll be pretty easy to spot, and this might not work for you. You'll want to protect your valuables from the elements by placing them in multiple watertight plastic bags. The bags still allow in moisture, so you'll need many of them to completely waterproof it. Also, if you're storing coins outdoors, don't let them touch the plastic bag directly. Over time, the plastic from the bag will turn the color of the coin, and of course that makes it less valuable. Instead, wrap paper and cloth around them first before inserting them in the bags. Idea number 2. It's raining pennies. The next hiding place was in the news a few years back and was surrounded by scandal. A couple of construction workers said they found a few $100,000 in a very old building while cleaning out the gutter. Later, the same construction workers were discovered to actually be thieves and had made the whole story up. If you enjoy being creative, you should place the money in a watertight plastic container and then stick it in a completely sealed plastic bag. Wrap it at least 5 times. Take this little container, grab a ladder, and wedge it in your gutter. In this way, your package won't get washed away and water can still flow around it. People rarely look up and would never think to look up in your gutter. Number 3. Bury it like a pirate. Arrrg! Now this one might be a little bit obvious, but it's still one of the best. If you prefer things at ground level, then you should choose a spot right alongside your house and bury your money a few feet underground. Again, it's important to make sure that the cash is in a container that won't be affected by moisture. Originally, people used to bury their coins and booty all the time. These days, people bury anything, including guns, ammo, and preserved food. Once you're done filling up the hole, place a decorative stone or statue over the top to help you remember where you stashed your cash. X marks the spot. If you bury a metal container, be sure to place it near a metal fence post. If anyone searches with metal detectors, it'll throw them off completely. Number 4. The fake birdhouse. Placing a specially redesigned birdhouse in your yard is another great way to hide money. Just pull the roof off and install a ceiling. You're basically going to make a little attic. Then use aluminum screws to reattach the roof so you can get it off easy later. All you have to do is place your money in a sealed container and put it inside the new little attic. Secure it between the roof and the ceiling of the structure. This way your stuff's protected and the birds can still use it as their home. Who would ever think to check a birdhouse for money? You can take it a step further and design it so the roof pops off easily. That way you won't disturb the nest. Number 5. Treasure Island and Nazi Gold. If you're lucky enough to have a pond in your yard, even if it's a little one, consider stacking rocks in the middle and making a small island. Hide your goods under something heavy so they don't blow over or wash away. Make it even better by placing a decorative object on the island. You have to have a very waterproof vessel, but what you want to do is stack the rocks over it and sink it. If you have a large pond, you can sink large and heavy objects. One of the most famous examples of this was the story of Hitler's missing gold. During the last days of Hitler's regime, he had his gold sunk in nearby lakes. Each year since, a small bit of Nazi gold still gets recovered in the ponds near the bunker. Word of warning on this one. It's really easy for your cash to drift around and float up out of the water, so make sure you weigh it down really well.
I hope you enjoyed the first 5 ideas. I'm going to put them all up for you. To see the next 6 through 10, all you have to do is click this book right here. Go ahead and click it and it'll take you to the next set of videos. Also, be sure to subscribe. Just click this right here and you can add me on Google Plus right there.